The Discovery, the deep space sensors aboard the Viridian scout ship Whisper of Stars began their familiar three-note warning chime. Captain Dex raised all four of his arms from the navigation console, his crystalline blue skin reflecting the bridge's amber lighting as he focused his large black eyes on the readings. In 40 years of exploring the galaxy's outer regions, he had learned to trust his instruments completely. Today, those same instruments were telling him something impossible. "Lieutenant Crix, verify these energy signatures," Dex commanded, his voice carrying the authority of decades spent in the void between stars. The young Viridian navigator's hands danced across her controls, her movements sharp with the precision that had earned her a place aboard the Federation's most advanced scout vessel. "Captain, I'm reading massive power outputs at coordinates 774 by 218. The energy levels are unlike anything in our databases." Crix paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Sir, these readings suggest technology far beyond current galactic standards." Dex felt a familiar chill run through his crystalline form. The galaxy was vast, filled with ancient mysteries and forgotten civilizations. But active energy signatures of this magnitude in the neutral zone meant only one thing. They had stumbled upon something significant. Something that could change the balance of power between the Federation, worlds, and the hostile territories beyond. "Set course for those coordinates," he ordered. "Maximum safe speed. And transmit a priority alert to Federation Command. Tell them we may have discovered advanced technology in Sector 12. The Whisper of Stars turned through space, its sleek hull designed for stealth and exploration rather than combat." For 3 days they traveled toward the mysterious energy source, watching as their instruments registered increasingly impossible readings. With each passing hour, the power signatures grew stronger, defying every known principle of energy generation and containment. "Captain," called Science Officer Velma from her station, "these readings suggest a single vessel generating enough power to supply an entire planetary colony. No known species possesses technology capable of such energy output." Dex nodded grimly. The Federation had cataloged every major civilization in the galaxy. Even the ancient Viridian Empire, whose ruins still dotted dozens of worlds, had never achieved energy generation on this scale. Whatever they were approaching represented either a breakthrough discovery or a serious threat to galactic security. On the 4th day, they found it. "By the 7 crystals of Viridia," whispered Lieutenant Crix. "Captain, you need to see this." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that left the entire bridge crew in stunned silence. Floating in the void was a massive warship, its dark hull absorbing the light from nearby stars. The vessel was enormous, easily 4 times the size of the Federation's largest battle cruisers, with a design that seemed both elegant and menacing. "Analysis," Dex demanded, though his voice carried a note of awe. "Length, approximately 3 kilometers, reported Velma. "Hull composition appears to be an unknown metal alloy. The design suggests human origin, but Captain, this is impossible. Human technology is primitive compared to this." Dex stared at the massive ship on his screen. Humans had been granted limited Federation membership only 50 years ago, after achieving basic faster-than-light travel. Their largest vessels were small frigates barely capable of interplanetary defense. This warship looked like it belonged to an empire that spanned galaxies. "Life signs?" he asked. "Approximately 300 organic beings aboard. DNA signatures match Terran-human baseline readings." "This cannot be correct," Dex muttered. "Humans do not possess the technology to build something like this." Their most advanced ships used basic fusion drives and primitive energy weapons. The ship hung in space like a dark promise, its hull reflecting starlight in patterns that seemed almost alive. As they watched, subtle lights began appearing along its length, as if the vessel was awakening from some deep sleep. "Captain," Velma called urgently. I'm detecting massive power fluctuations throughout their ship. Whatever energy source they're using, it's coming online. Defensive posture, Vex ordered. Raise shields and power weapons, but do not target them directly. We don't know their intentions. Before his crew could respond, the communications array crackled to life. A human voice, calm and confident, filled the bridge. Viridian vessel whisper of stars. This is Captain Sarah Chun of the UE's Phantom. We've been monitoring your approach for the past 6 hours. Permission to welcome you to this sector. Vex felt his skin temperature drop several degrees. The human knew their ship's name, had been tracking them without appearing on their sensors, and spoke as if this encounter had been expected. Asterisk, Captain Chun, Vex replied carefully. I am Captain Vex of the Viridian Federation Scout Fleet. Your vessel appears to be operating far beyond known human technological capabilities. How is this possible? The view screen changed to show a human woman in her mid-40s, with short black hair and calm brown eyes. She wore a uniform that looked similar to standard human military dress, but the fabric seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. Behind her, Vex could see a bridge that defied every principle of ship design he knew. Technology advances quickly when necessity demands it. Captain Vex, Chun replied with a slight smile. Would you like to come aboard? I believe you'll find our recent innovations quite interesting. I must contact Federation Command first. A discovery of this magnitude requires immediate reporting. Of course, Chun agreed. Please inform the Federation that humanity has made certain advances in our defensive capabilities. We would welcome the opportunity to demonstrate our commitment to galactic peace. The transmission ended, leaving Vex staring at a blank screen. The phrases Chun had used troubled him. Defensive capabilities and commitment to galactic peace were terms typically employed by major galactic powers. Species with the technology and military might to enforce their will across star systems. Send an emergency transmission to Federation Command, he ordered. Maximum priority encryption. Inform them we have encountered a human warship of impossible design and capabilities. Request immediate deployment of diplomatic and military assets to these coordinates. As his communications officer worked to send the message, Vex continued studying the Phantom. The massive human warship hung motionless in space, but something about its stillness seemed deceptive, like a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Captain, Velma whispered from her station. I'm detecting micro-fluctuations in the space-time continuum around their ship. Whatever propulsion system they're using, it's affecting the fabric of reality itself. Asterisk Vex closed his eyes and tried to process the implications. A human ship that violated known physics, generated impossible energy levels, and casually invited alien visitors aboard as if hosting a diplomatic reception. Either humanity had made the greatest technological breakthrough in galactic history, or something else was happening here. Something that could fundamentally alter the balance of power in the galaxy. Maintain position at safe distance, he ordered. Continue full sensor sweeps and document everything. Prepare a security team, but keep weapons powered down. We don't want to provoke whatever we're dealing with. The Phantom continued to float in space, patient and mysterious, its dark hull seeming to pulse with barely contained energy. Whatever secrets it held, Vex knew that this encounter would change everything. The question was whether humanity's emergence as a technological power would bring salvation or destruction to the galaxy. Deep in the ship's core, systems older than human civilization hummed with purpose, waiting for the next phase of a plan that had been decades in the making. Captain Chun stood on her bridge, watching the Viridian scout ship maintain its cautious distance, knowing that very soon the galaxy would learn that humanity was no longer the primitive species everyone believed them to be. The real test was still to come. The test Admiral Zorak arrived 72 hours later at the head of the largest Federation battle fleet assembled in 3 centuries. His flagship, the massive dreadnought Galaxy's Pride, led a formation of 120 warships, representing every major species in the Federation. Each vessel carried the finest weapons and defensive systems that galactic civilization could produce. Yet as they approached the coordinates where the human ship waited, Admiral Zorak felt an unease that had nothing to do with tactical concerns. The reports from Captain Nex had been reviewed by the Federation's top scientists and military strategists. None of them could explain how humans had developed technology that seemed to operate beyond the laws of physics. ***. Admiral, reported his tactical officer, a six-armed Krillian whose species had perfected warfare across a dozen star systems. We have visual contact with both the Viridian scout ship and the human vessel. The main view screen displayed the scene that had puzzled Federation Command for days. The human warship Phantom hung in space like a dark monument, its hull absorbing light in ways that made it appear both solid and ethereal. Despite being outnumbered more than 100 to 1, the single human vessel showed no signs of concern or defensive positioning. "Open a channel to the human ship," Zorak commanded. His deep voice carried the authority of someone who had commanded fleets in battles that shaped Galactic history. Captain Chun's face appeared on the screen, looking exactly as relaxed as she had during her first contact with the Viridians. Behind her, human crew members worked at stations that seemed to be constructed from materials that shifted and changed, even as he watched. "Admiral Zorak," Chun said with a polite nod. "Welcome to Sector 12. I trust your journey was comfortable. Captain Chun, I come representing the Federation Council to investigate reports of advanced human technology. Your cooperation would be appreciated." "Of course, Admiral. We would be honored to demonstrate our capabilities. However, I should mention that this might not be the best time for diplomatic discussions." Before Zora could ask what she meant, every sensor array in the Federation fleet began screaming warnings. Space itself seemed to tear open at the edge of the system, revealing a darkness deeper than the void between stars. "Contact!" shouted the tactical officer. Multiple vessels emerging from unknown space. Configuration unlike anything in our databases. What emerged from the spatial rifts defied description. The vessels appeared to be constructed from living metal that writhed and shifted like liquid mercury. There were dozens of them, each one roughly the size of a Federation cruiser, but their geometry hurt to look at directly. They moved with purpose and intelligence, forming attack patterns that suggested a collective consciousness. "The swarm has arrived ahead of schedule," Captain Chun observed calmly. "Admiral, I strongly suggest you move your fleet to defensive positions behind our ship." "Behind your ship?" Zorak's pride flared. "Captain, you have one vessel against dozens of unknown hostiles. The Federation fleet will handle this threat. Admiral, with respect, you don't understand what you're facing. These entities have been traveling through dark space for millennia, consuming entire civilizations. Your weapons will have no effect on them." As if responding to Chun's words, the alien vessels launched their attack. Beams of energy that seemed to bend reality struck the Federation ships, passing through shields as if they didn't exist. The dreadnought's stellar might took a direct hit and simply began dissolving, its hull breaking down at the molecular level. "All ships return fire," Zorak commanded. "Full weapons spread." 120 Federation warships unleashed their combined firepower at the swarm vessels. Particle beams, plasma cannons, and antimatter torpedoes created a light show that could be seen from neighboring star systems. The weapons struck their targets and passed through them harmlessly, as if the swarm ships existed in a different dimension. "Impossible," whispered Zorak's science officer. "Our weapons are having no effect at all." "Admiral," came Chun's voice over the communications channel. "Permission to engage. You're one ship against dozens of enemies that our entire fleet can't damage." "What can you possibly do?" "We've been preparing for this encounter for 60 years, Admiral. Please move your ships to minimum safe distance. Without waiting for a response, the Phantom began to change. Sections of its hull that had appeared solid became transparent, revealing internal structures that violated geometric principles. The ship's energy output, already impossible, doubled and then tripled. Commander Lisa Park, the Phantom's weapons officer, worked at a control station that seemed to be constructed from crystallized light. Captain, all systems are online. Ghost Fleet protocol is active. Engage. Chun ordered simply. What happened next would be discussed in Federation military academies for centuries to come. The Phantom didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, reality around the swarm vessels began to change. Some of the alien ships simply stopped existing, winking out of reality as if they had never been there. Others found themselves trapped in temporal loops, attacking the same target over and over while time flowed backwards around them. The largest swarm vessel attempted to ram the Phantom, its living metal hull extending spear-like projections. As it approached, the human ship seemed to step sideways through space, allowing the attacker to pass through the location where it had been moments before. Impossible, Zorak breathed. They're manipulating space-time itself. Dr. Marcus Webb, the Phantom's chief science officer, appeared on a secondary communication channel. Admiral, what you're witnessing is the result of humanity's encounter with swarm advanced scouts 40 years ago. We've spent decades developing countermeasures. You've fought these creatures before? A small scouting force attacked Earth's outer colonies in 2387. We learned from that encounter and began preparing for their inevitable return. On the tactical display, the swarm forces were being systematically eliminated by weapons and tactics that defied explanation. Some were trapped in gravitational fields that compressed them into neutron-dense spheres. Others found their molecular structure being rewritten, transforming them into harmless space dust. Within 20 minutes, the battle was over. Not a single swarm vessel remained, and the Federation fleet hadn't fired a shot that could affect the enemy. Asterisk Captain Chun, Admiral Zorak said slowly. How is this possible? 40 years ago, humanity was barely capable of interplanetary flight. Chun's expression became serious for the first time during their encounter. Admiral, when your species faces extinction, you learn to adapt quickly. The swarm forced us to develop technologies that we never would have imagined necessary. But the physics involved are beyond current galactic understanding, yes. We had help from sources I'm not at liberty to discuss yet. Dr. Webb appeared on screen beside his captain. Admiral, what you witnessed today was a relatively minor swarm incursion. Our intelligence suggests they're testing Federation defenses before launching a full-scale invasion. Full-scale invasion? The force you just saw eliminated represented perhaps 1% of their total military capability. The main swarm fleet contains millions of vessels and technologies that make today's attackers look primitive. Admiral Zorak felt the weight of galactic history settling on his shoulders. What are you suggesting? That humanity is willing to share our defensive technologies with the Federation, Chen replied. But first, the Council needs to understand that we're no longer the junior species you thought we were. We're prepared to become equal partners in defending this galaxy. And if the Council refuses? Captain Chun's smile returned, but this time it carried an edge that made Admiral Zorak remember that he was speaking to someone who had just casually rewritten the laws of physics. Then humanity will defend itself, Admiral, with or without Federation support, as the massive human warship prepared to depart, leaving the Federation fleet to contemplate what they had witnessed. Admiral Zorak realized that the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted permanently. Humanity was no longer seeking membership in galactic civilization. They were offering to lead it. The Phantom disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind only questions and the certain knowledge that everything the galaxy thought it knew about humans had just been proven completely wrong. Asterisk,